my faith. But it wasn't always like that. I took more of the St. Augustine route. St. Augustine wrote a book called Confessions, and I bring it with me whenever, if I stumble, I can open this book and it'll put me right back because I relate to him 100%. So grew up Lafayette, graduated in Abbeville from Romanian Catholic, and they gave away an award to every freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior, to the top male and female student, and I won that award 4 years in a row. We called it the Father Guido Sarducci Award. You remember Guido Sarducci from Saturday Night Live? So that was the award, right? And so I was that. Hello? Does it help? Oh, it helps that. Okay. So I was that kind of student. You know, I served under Monsignor Mouton, who I still have nightmares about that sometimes because he scared the heck out of me. But it was a good experience. I learned some catechism from him. That was a pious man, you know, and he was a good man to learn some stuff from. So altar server, all around great kid. And then I turned 18, and my parents pretty much said, you made great decisions. Why wouldn't you continue to make great decisions? I'm hoping that when I'm sharing this with you, you're finding yourself in it or find your kids in it, right? And I think it's important for that. My mom and dad didn't really pay attention to the caliber of people that I started associating with. And we become who we hang out with. You know, I worked at a job at one point making industrial hose, and I did that for about 6 months, and I called my wife one day crying and said, I'm dumbing down working here. Like I feel like I'm starting to talk, you know, I don't use any intellect at all. It's just all superficial stuff. I need to get out of here. It's the same thing whenever we're around people that are doing the wrong thing. My morals really started slipping. Look, I was in high school with the same guys, some of the same guys who were victims of Gilbert Goethe, right, the original, right? And so there was always this undercurrent of, yes, we go to Catholic school, but man, we really resentful of the Catholic faith. And that's how my whole high school career was. I wanted to love Jesus, but I didn't feel like I could. I wasn't brave enough to, right? Because I had to have all these guys around me, and I wanted to fit in. Who doesn't want to fit in? You know, I'm a high school kid. And I'm not from Abbeville, so I really want to fit in. So I graduated, and I turned 18, and I didn't come home till 6 in the morning. And I had the most fun I'd ever had. And I wanted to do it again. And I did. I'm a graduate of USL. I graduated with the degree in behavioral science, and I minored in criminal justice and English. I don't even know why or how. But I was on that 10-year program, but there's no PhD, no doctor. I'm not an attorney. I'm just a dude that crawls into houses for a living, you know. The Bible uses this word every once in a while, and it's one of my favorite words to describe who I was. I was licentious. Licentious means having very loose morals, and that's who I was. I put God on a shelf. Every once in a while, I take him off the shelf and I beg, God, can you get me out of this one? Right? And so my early 20s were years filled with not much substance. Very selfish. What could I do to feel good? Because I never liked the way I felt. So I was always doing something to change the way I felt. One thing leads to another. You know, I got arrested in my early 20s for some stuff, and it's the only time I ever got arrested. I'll caution you guys on something, and I'm sure most of you know it already. I have a mother who will do anything to save her baby. She will do anything, including meeting with the DA and convincing him to drop charges, right? There are lessons that our kids should learn early on in life, that they can remember and change things later on in life. The biggest problem that I have is that I look at what's going on right now and I think it's everything. I can look at I can be in the landscape, but I got to see the landscape, right? A lot of times I'm just focusing on that micro. And anyway, I always got bailed out of something or another, and I don't know how I made it through college. And then I met my wife. My wife is just a beautiful woman. She's from Gaydon. But if you say she's from Gaydon, she'll probably slap you because she's not proud of it. She lived there for 2 years. And you know, she's got that Cajun family. They are, when they show up to parties, every single one of them has an ice chest. And like a shield and like a sword, and like they're ready to go to battle. Like they're drinking, right? And so that was fun. I was like, man, I'm gonna love this family a lot. I'm cutting up. And the spiral though, into alcoholism or addiction, if you know, everybody knows someone who's struggling with this, whether they've admitted it or not. I want you to know one thing about addiction and alcoholism. Please remember this. The addict and the alcoholic would do anything in their power to stop doing it. They just don't have the power. And they haven't surrendered it to him yet. I fought this thing for a long time. I sobered up in 2006 after, you know, fighting. I was 35 years old. My wife left me multiple times. I went home to grab now I'm gonna share some stuff with you that, you know what, I'm not ashamed of it because of the end of my story, because of the end of what I'm gonna tell you. I went in to grab a Kentwood jug full of change, and my 4-year-old daughter grabbed my leg and was begging me not to leave. And I was kicking her off. If you knew how much I loved my daughter today, there's no way you'd say that was the same guy. And it wasn't. That wasn't me. And I really thought at that time, there's no place lower than where I am now. Like, this is the absolute lowest anybody could ever be. I thought I was in hell. I used to say, I'm in hell. I had put myself in hell. There's nothing more, and we all experience this today too, there's nothing more discouraging than wanting something so desperately because we know it's the right thing and not being able to have it. And just being clueless, not being able to wrap your head around it, right? I like to wrap my head around things, and there are some things in life we can't wrap our head around. This was one. So I was relieved of that obsession in 06. God, I hadn't prayed. I dropped to my knees. I was separated from alcohol in treatment. I went for a 30-day treatment, and actually I went to 4 30-day treatments. I was separated from that in 06, and I started to form a relationship with God. And that worked great for many, many years. So if you know anybody in recovery, they'll often talk about stuff like a God of my understanding, right? And there's a reason for that, because everybody comes into recovery mad at God because he couldn't get them out of the mess they were in, right? Resentful at God. And look, I know people not in recovery mad at God because they treat him like Santa Claus, you know? I used to pray that God take my life when I fell asleep at night, and I'd wake up the next morning and I was mad at him because I was still alive. So everybody comes, so it's a difficult thing to not push someone who's already hypersensitive about God away by talking about Jesus Christ and his mother Mary and the Holy Trinity and the Holy Family. You start throwing that out and they'll shut off completely. So recovery programs kind of backdoor people, right? Just make God bigger than you. You're not God. The ego will not serve you well here. I could understand that. I used to ask a guy, I'm like, well, what do you think? He'd go, well, how's that working for you? I go, it's not working for me. He goes, well, let's do something different. And so I could grab hold of that. The problem with the God of my understanding is that it's still of my understanding. And I'm limited. I'm not always there, right? I firmly believe that the majority of our problems as a society result from spiritual sickness. It's no other, if you want to get to the root, It's a lack of dependence on God. It's a lack of faith. Fear is a lack of faith. And it drives people to do crazy things. My relationship with God grew until it didn't grow. That all changed, and I was asked to go to a retreat by a friend of mine's wife. My wife used to beg me to go to Mass with her on Sundays. Please come to Mass with me, please. And she wasn't the best Catholic. How could she be? Her husband wasn't one. And so she was doing the best she could, and she'd go by herself, and I'd say, my fellowship, that's my church. You know, that's where I get fed. And it's true, I did. I'm not gonna knock it. I certainly did. I saw some miracles happen. But none like our faith, not even close. And I'd say, no, I'm not gonna go. And so a friend of mine's wife called me one day and she said, Jason's going to a retreat, and would you go to support him? And I said, man, I've been to a lot of retreats in school and stuff, and I'm kind of burnt out on those. And she goes, there's gonna be fishing. I'm in, I'll go. And I'm so self-absorbed with my little wants and needs at times that I really believe that's why I was there. This was a Catholic retreat of 50 men with a facilitator, and we got there and he put a statue of Jesus on the table in the front of the downstairs under the camp. We're in Grand Isle, and he said, I want you to move your chair and show me how far or close you think you are to Jesus right now. And at the time I couldn't differentiate God and Jesus. To me it was just one thing, right? It was one thing bigger than me. It got me sober. That's pretty big. And plus I didn't want to move. I was right in the middle, so I just didn't move. Everybody picked up their chair and moved it around. This is so apathetic about my faith, right? So passive. And so he went around and he said, why did you move there? Where are you there? Why? And he gets to me and he goes, why are you here? And I said, and when you get to know me, you'll know if you ask me a question, I'm just going to tell you my answer. I'll try not to hurt your feelings. And he goes, why are you here? I said, well, my friend Jason's wife called me and said they'd be fishing, and I said, I'll come and support you. And that guy looked at me in the face and he goes, there's another reason why you're here. I just kind of started. He said that 3 times that weekend. I love that man. So the weekend goes on, and it's the day of confession and Mass. 19 years. It had been 19 years since I've been to confession, carrying all that sin, all that weight, all that guilt. Catholic school product, knew where to turn, and pride and prejudice and delusion wouldn't let me do it. I saw it in all of you, and I judged you as stuck-up Catholics. Sorry. So he says, you have 3 hours to go sit by yourself somewhere around Grand Isle, around the camp on the beach, and you get to contemplate and have communion with God. Selfish, self-absorbed. I'm going to take a nap. Give me a little 3-hour nap, and it'd be great. I go and I sit on my bunk, and a guy walks in to the room, and another one that I love dearly today. And by the way, when people affect me in a positive way, like where it changes me, I stay close to those people, real close. He goes, man, I want to give you this. This is an examination of conscience. Catholic school product, and I didn't even know what that was. No indictment on VC. It's all about me. Right? I'm sure they told me what it was, but it's like, I think the day that I shut the faith off, I was in confession with a priest. I was probably 12, 13 years old, and he goes, have you received the Eucharist with sin on your soul? And I said, yes, Father, I have. Now, I heard him say, you're going to hell. I know that's not what he said, but that's what I took with me from 12 years old up. So I walked around going, what's the use? He said I was going to hell. So why make the effort? He gives me this examination of conscience. He goes, this one's based on the 10 Commandments. There's going to be questions on each one. Just read them and be honest with yourself, and it'll give you something to talk about to tell the priest. So I got a notebook. And I wasn't gonna do anything. He walked out, and I felt guilty. Now I gotta go do something, right? So I get out of the room, walk to the front deck. I turn around, facing the beach, and I sit on the top step. I'm sitting on this step, and it's cloudy. It's about to start raining. And I get this thing, and I'm reading the first commandment, the 10 questions, and I get to the last question, and it says, do you doubt the power of God to love and forgive you? And I started crying uncontrollably, not sobbing, not weeping, crocodile tears. And I remember thinking, what is going on? Why are you crying so much about this? What's so important about this? It started drizzling on me, and I'm lost right there. And I laid down, and when I sat up, y'all hear people talk about that breeze, that cool breeze that blows through them, blew right through me. And for the first time in my life, I felt God say something to me. He said, I forgive you for everything you've ever done. Just like that. And when I tell you that one cloud over me opened up, the sun started shining right on that deck, and I couldn't stop crying. And I cried all the way to that confessional. And I sat down in front of that little Vietnamese priest, and I don't know what he said. With my 19 years worth of sins in a notebook. But I know he looked at me at the end and he said, you have a clean slate. And I've never felt so light. My friend John says that the Holy Spirit will come to us for a couple of reasons. One of which is a conversion or a calling back to the faith. And I attribute it to that. And I listened. Jumped in, my wife says, you're old enough. And man, when it's good, I am on board. And so I jumped in head first. Why wouldn't I? You know, God talks to me, and you know, if I know God's talking to me, I will respond with true faith. No questions asked. Y'all ever met people that are super, super convicted? Side story real quick. Me and my wife are at Mass at Wisdom at noon. And what's the prayer that they do? It's like a sonnet, and it's about Mary, and it's like a 3-line. I need to get it right, so I'm gonna look for it. Anyway, we're at this Mass, and it's beautiful. And at Wisdom, have y'all ever been to Our Lady of Wisdom at noon? They sing, huh? Yeah, but they sing. These kids get in there, and these kids. I didn't even know there was a Catholic church on campus when I was at USL. And these kids are in there singing, and on Fridays it's packed, and it's so beautiful. And so me and Michelle are sitting there, and we had read it that morning and thought it was beautiful. Well, they start singing it, and it's called the At the Cross or Station Keeping, the Mary sequence, right? Well, you know how so the guy's singing it, and I'm telling you, behind me, the voice of an angel. You know how some girls have they pick, I don't know what it's called, when they sing like higher, but it's so gorgeous. And I get chills thinking about it. And me and Michelle are just sitting there, and we're crying, listening to this thing. Mass is over, and this woman comes running up to my wife, 5'2", full of makeup, got a wig on, and she starts talking so intently, and I gotta lean in. What's going on over here? And man, she's pulling stuff from her bag, and she's giving Michelle stuff, and she's like, come with me in my car, I have something I want to use. So we chase her to her car, she opens her trunk, it's like a hoarder lived in the trunk. It was so bad, and she's looking for, she can't find it, she's telling us that God told her to do this, God told her to do this, and I'm like, look, we have to go, I gotta pick up my dad for a haircut, we gotta go. So we go away from her car, down the street, across the parking lot to leave, and I put it back up, and here she comes running in high heel wedges, waving something. Wait! I rolled down my wife's window because I didn't want to roll down my window. So we rolled down hers, and she gives her what she was looking for. God told her that it was her job to help make Father CeeLo in New Orleans, right, a saint. And when she walked away, I rolled up that window, and I was about to say, that woman is crazy. And then I thought, if God talked to me and I knew it, y'all would think I was crazy too. She's convinced. Let that woman be. I look for those people now. Please, show me your conviction. But don't deliver it that way. You need to temper, be scaring people. There's a lot of ways to evangelize, you know. So man, I was on fire for the faith, man. I was even thinking about going through RCIA, like just to learn. And the men in my life God was putting men in my life. One of them has a master's in theology. He was a teacher. I got one that works for a missions company. By the way, if you ever get a chance to sit down and talk to a missionary, one who has given everything up and actually is a missionary, I highly recommend it. Those people will just speak their heart. They'll say very few words, and when they say it, it's impactful. So have a conversation with the missionary. One of them is the director of charismatic renewal for the Diocese of Lafayette. And all these people, so man, I was like a sponge. I was asking questions. I was just absorbing. I wanted more. I was in love with the Catholic faith. Nothing about it intimidated me. I could see it working in people's lives. You all look, I didn't judge you anymore as pompous Catholic, stuck-up Catholics. You were just holy men with a heart, you know? I'm gonna tell you a story and then I'll come back to it. My neighbor lives down the street, and for 9 years, I've judged that man by the way he waves at me when I drive by. Look at that arrogant dude right there. He's so arrogant. 9 years I'm judging that man. What's wrong with me? I'm human. So I'm on fire. And I have 3 children. Kennedy is my oldest. She is about to graduate LSU, starting grad school in the fall. Grace is a senior at STM, about to graduate, starting LSU in the fall. Lord help me. And my son Griffin was, we were in Labor Day weekend in 2017, and he was in a boating accident and he died. I lost my son on September 2nd, 2017. And that's the kind of day that you know, the most truthful thing people said to us after that is, I can't even imagine. Who would want to imagine that, right? And so we're still, you know, me and my wife talk all the time. There's still a lot of brokenness in the house, but we get up. I've never stayed in bed all day. My definition of willpower today is, man, I got out of bed this morning, you know, and that's enough for me. We got back to the dock. We sat on the water for a while. We didn't want to go. We had to look for him. We're not there 30 seconds, and I look and there's these 3 black folks walking down the hill. And I'm thinking to myself, I do not want to talk to anybody right now. What is going on? I mean, it's a lady that owns a restaurant, says, this is my sister-in-law and my brother. They're pastors at a church in Lake Charles. They want to pray with you. That's the last thing I wanted to do, though. I did not want to pray right there. I was so angry at that point. And to make it worse, she got in a boat and started praising Jesus and thanking him. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. I had to ask her husband, why is she saying that during the prayer? Why is she, what? And he said, we've already claimed your son. They're going to find him. It's going to happen. Don't worry about it. Those people, those 2 people who we love dearly, we've been to their church, they are the pastors of the Repairers of the Breach Fivefold Ministry in Lake Charles. And we have been there, and it is something else. There's some charism going on there. Anyway, we love them. And those people didn't leave. They went to their cars and they got lawn chairs and they put it on the edge of the lake facing the accident. And they sat there and got torn up with mosquitoes for 2.5 hours, and they didn't move, praying for my son to be brought back. Immediately, I got to see faith in action. Thank you, Jesus. That's why she was saying thank you, Jesus. Tough thing to lose a child, man, especially it's my youngest only boy. He was my identity. gave me my identity. I have two daughters. Any of you have teenage daughters? God bless you. Me too. All of you. It's hard to relate to a teenage daughter, and I struggle even more now. But not him. He's 11 years old. He rode anything that was that had wheels on it. He had a dirt bike. He liked to race dirt bikes. He's 11 years old, and he came to me and he goes, Dad, I want a bike. I want a BMX bike, trick bike. I said, how much are they, son? I'm gonna do some research, I'll let you know. This kid comes back a day later with like a spreadsheet of 5 bikes, and he goes, and give me all the pros and cons on each one. He goes, this is the one that makes the most sense. It's $300. How much you got? I've been saving my money all year, Dad. I got $200. Will you give me the other 100? Absolutely, I'm gonna give you the 100. You've been saving that all year, and I got 21-year-olds that just do like this? Yes, Steve, yes. You're doing something right. So Griffin, Luke, Vincent, LeBlanc was my heart, you know. He was my heart, and he still is my heart, man. I just, I don't get to see him that much, you know. And that is still something that's hard to deal with every day. I know people that have had this happen, and you know, we have a choice when that happens on which way we're going to go. And I know people that chose the wrong path, and they're 15 years down the line, and they're miserable, miserable, miserable people, cursing God still. And I knew I wasn't going to be that person. So what did I do? Man, I pressed into God. I pushed him around. Like I pressed. I yelled at him. They told me that was prayer. Keep on yelling if you needed to. So I did. Didn't curse him because I know better. But I yelled at him. And I still don't, I still haven't fully accepted his plan. I know that our lives are a book, you know, and I'm right somewhere in the middle of that book. But Griffin knows the end of the story, and he knows the whole story, and he knows the beauty. And my faith tells me that is how it is. This is the kind of kid he was. First of all, when I named him Griffin, I heard that name on a radio talk show when I was 21 years old. The lady was pregnant. The male guy said, well, if it's a boy, what are you gonna name him? She goes, we like Griffin. And I thought, what a cool name. Fathered away in my memory. Told my wife about it. I said, we're gonna have babies until we have a boy, so just get ready, you know? We had figured that we had 2 girls. We figured if it was another girl, we were gonna name her Soleil. We were gonna call her Sunny, right? Soleil, French for sun, right? Here comes Griffin. Well, I guess we can't use Soleil. We bought a German Shepherd. We called her Soleil. We love that dog. Anyway, so I didn't know anything about the name Griffin and what it meant. I'm not into that, right? And so he's 4 years old. He's on his iPad in the room, and he comes running out of the room, and he goes, Dad, do you know what a griffin is? I said, I'm looking at him. You know, he goes, no, man. He goes, a griffin is a mythological creature. It's got the head of an eagle, the body of a lion. It's got wings of an eagle. It's the king of the air. It's the king of the sea. It hates evil. It hates bullies, and it's a protector. And man, he took that seriously. He loved his name. And it fitted. It fitted. 5th grade, they get the occasion dancing for a week at Fatima, so they get to pick the girl that they want to dance with. And my boy picked a little girl with Down syndrome, Molly. And that was his heart. Dude had more heart than anybody I've ever met. And I miss his heart, you know, and I think, sometimes I think some of the things that I do or see or the way what I say, I'm not capable of, and I know that he's with me. I know he's with me. I know he's with me right now. I asked Father Russo 2 days after the accident. I'm glad he said this, but at the time, I really wanted to strangle him. I said, Father Russo, and I'm crying, my whole family's in the office, I'm crying, and I said, do you think he's looking down on us? And he's really sad because his dad's so sad. And Father Russo goes, I don't know what makes you think he'd be sad and want to come back. He's with his real father. I'd heard people say that before, and I had to get my children up. I'm not really their father anyway. You know, their real father is going to take care of them. And I was like, man, are you kidding me? But I had to believe that at that moment, or I would have gone crazy trying to wrap my head around what happened. Thank you, Jesus. We continued our walk, and I stayed out of work for, 8 weeks. It should have been longer, but sitting around at your house. I will say this. I started to see how all of the things that happened to me in my life earlier were benefiting me now. In that sorrow were benefiting me. I remember I told you when I was in the worst part of addiction, I thought, this is hell. It'll never get worse than this. There's always room for worse, but there's always room for better too. You're never gonna reach that. So I'm learning some lessons, and I could see how the pain and struggle that I had early on in life prepared me to be able to handle this. It toughened me up a bit, right? But it also taught me that this is how you surrender. This is how you give up everything that you think is going on and trust the plan. Did I buy in 100%? No, but it got me that day, that one day, a day, right? And then they told me, Kevin, every morning, he gives you brand new grace. Brand new grace says, what we do with them determines how they fall in the future. Don't waste your graces. Imagine that. A loving Father, no matter how I act, starts the next day fresh. All new graces. I'm in. I'll follow that. Because I don't know about y'all, but by about 4 o'clock, I done wasted graces, and I'm on my way to confession. I'm human. I remember that when that guy, that theologian, that masters with theology, he gets in my car to bring him to that retreat, and I said, is there going to be confession? And he goes, yeah, how long's it been? I said, 19 years. He goes, 19 years? Like, oh my God, 19 years. I'm like, that's not what you want to tell somebody who's trying to find a faith. And I said, and so he's explaining to me confession. I'm like, man, I don't want to go to confession and sin again, and then go back and sin again, and then go back and sin again. I feel like such a hypocrite. And he started laughing at me. He said, we're all hypocrites, Kevin. Just don't wear it as a shield. Don't wear that as a badge. A Catholic that wears hypocrisy as a badge is not promoting, it's not an attractive faith to people. It's just not. So the Griffin's loss is, my family is still so broken. I stand before you right now and tell you that there are days my wife and I fight about stuff. We didn't talk for 3 days because of the way she put the trash can bag in the trash can. I am serious. I have the attention span of a flea ever since this has happened. I can't focus to save my life. And I got 2 businesses, and I'm about to share with you, we started 2 more. And I'm thinking to myself, what are you doing? You can barely put a sentence together. But I'm being called. I got called by, I'm a home inspector. I have a home inspection company, right? So I'm out of work for about 8 weeks, and I get a call from a realtor. First call, first one I take. I gotta back up again because it's important. Don't underestimate the power of a fellowship, right? Remember I told you about looking for guys that have that? In sobriety, that's what I looked for too. I'm an egomaniac, right? Left uncontrolled, I'm an egomaniac with an inferiority complex. Think about that for a minute, right? I want everybody to think I'm bigger than I am, but I'm scared and feel inferior. So I started looking for people that had just humility and could just be themselves. I wanted real. Show me your authenticity, right? Be vulnerable with me, right? And I found them. These dudes, they beat me to the camp before we got off me and my wife got off the water. There were 5 of them waiting in Big Lake from Lafayette. I would wake up 6 weeks later and I'd go downstairs and there'd be a guy making coffee in my coffee pot. I didn't even know who he was. They were always in my house. Y'all know Heart Hotel? Anybody know Heart? Hart is the guy that works for Family Missions, and Hart came in one day, and we were sitting outside, and he goes, I could hear him. He grabbed his phone, he goes, and I hear him go, they do this charity thing next level. And so he hung up. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, that was Deacon Ed. I was telling him about how amazing it is to watch these men serve you in your time of need. Man, I started crying. You know how long I wanted that kind of friendship from people? And there it was, right in front of me, in my house. And it never left. And it was beautiful. This lady calls me to go to work. Now this realtor, I love her to death. I've been knowing her 9 years. We just know each other through work, and she's got a beautiful soul. She's kind of, I think she's crazy because she's so scattered, but everything seems to work out for her, right? She just works out. Kevin, you want to do this inspection? Easy house, buyer's real cool. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. Let's go. So I drive up. I said, where's the buyer? She goes, I told her not to come. I didn't want you to feel pressure. How you been, Kevin? I said, I have read 7 books on near-death experience in the last 3 weeks. I want to know where Griffin is. I worry about where he is. He's not with me. I want to know where he is. She said, well, I haven't, and this woman is just as blunt and real as it gets. I have a near-death experience story for you, and it's firsthand. I said, you? She goes, no, my brother. My brother was 40-something years old, but when he was 13, he stole my grandfather's truck and smashed it into a tree, was in a coma for 2 months. She said, I was in the room when he came out of the coma. He's 13 years old. And he was talking like he was a grown-up, and he was saying things like, I do not want to be here. It hurts. It hurts right here. I want to go back. There was no pain up there. I didn't hurt. And I was walking, and it was beautiful. He's crying. She said, he's crying. He's telling me this. And it was so beautiful. I want to go back. Can I go back? And now I'm crying because I'm listening to a woman who was there. Watch your brother. I believed it before, but now she's solidified it. And then she goes, and he wants you to know that it's okay to doubt your faith. He knows your heart. I said, your brother? She goes, no, Jesus. So I looked at her, I'm like, okay. She goes, you think I'm crazy, don't you? I said, everybody thinks you're crazy, Keith. She goes, that's what I'm saying. He asked me to do things. We've been having conversations for a long time. I said, so you summon Jesus. She goes, I am not a mystic. I do not summon Jesus Christ, but we have conversations. I said, like what? She goes, I'll be driving down the street and he will tell me to go into a nursing home and go talk to these people about what they have to look forward to. And he'll pick them out and I'll go right to them and I'll be specific with them. And they let me keep coming back. She said, there's a lady in my office just started 2 months ago and she needs a kidney transplant. And the whole office, prayer chains, worried about it. And he'd been after me for 3 weeks to go in her office and tell her it was gonna be all right. And I'm tired of people thinking I'm crazy. Remember that lady I told you that chases that? I'm tired of people thinking she's crazy. So I kept telling her no. She said, I want you to know something about Jesus Christ. He is funny. I said, I believe that. She said, no, he is funny. She said, I'm just tired. So the other day, he literally lifts me out of my chair and pushes me down the hall into her office. And I get in there, I say, hey, stop worrying about the kidney. They're gonna find you one, you're gonna live, everything's gonna be all right. She says, as I'm saying, all right, she's hanging up the phone and she goes, that was my brother-in-law, he's a match. We're gonna have the transplant surgery next week. And she goes, told you. Walks out. She's so awesome, I'm telling you. She's from South America also. Something about that culture, man. Something about it. So I start to work and I'm amazed. She told me Mary's appeared to her once. I mean, I'm just absolutely floored, but I'm not believing her. But my heart's open. I start working and she sticks her head outside. I'm on the patio. She doesn't know any of my family, any of my life. She goes, he wants me to ask you how your mom's doing. I said, Mom is struggling. That was her baby, and she won't leave the house. And all she does is call me crying. I said, that's like one alcoholic trying to get the other alcoholic sober. It ain't gonna hurt. I mean, it ain't gonna help. We just keep hurting each other. And she goes, listen, he's telling me to stop worrying about how your mom's grieving. She will live again. So since the accident, me and my sister are going back and forth. My sister calls it failure to thrive. Mom's never going to be able to live again. That's going to do it. She's going to die right now, right? And so she just told me to stop worrying about the things we're worrying about. The only thing that we're worrying about with any member of my family, actually. I said, okay, well, I'm going to stop worrying about it then, but I'm still not right. I'm not believing much. So I started doing some jobs, and she comes in, she goes, Kevin, you just told me that all those men that are in your life today, she didn't know that. They're never going to leave you. They're always going to be there. Praise God, because I need those men. How did she know I had all those men? I'm going on Facebook, I'm looking around for anything that somebody might have said. So I'm working. All the while, my heart is opening and it's softening, right? I was butter. And I'm walking around this house, I'm doing the inspection, and if you ever have an inspector do a house for you, you know that we got to pay attention to some things. And there's a lot to pay attention to, and I'm not even worried about missing something. Something's telling me, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. She comes in and she says, since I got here, he's been wanting me to tell you this. Please stop worrying about where Griffin is. He is great. He's always with you, Kevin. And I said, yeah, I know, he's always with me. She goes, no. She goes, you know that pain, that pressure you feel in your shoulders? That morning, I called Chris Davis, my physical therapist, for an appointment because of the pressure that was in my shoulders, and it wouldn't go away. She goes, that's Griffin. She goes, kind of like when you would carry him on your shoulders for Mardi Gras, and your shoulders would get tired. Is it like that? I said, that's exactly what it feels like. He's hanging on you. He was always hanging on you. He's still gonna hang on you. Well, that just about did it. I'm crying, big tears now. I'm crying. My son is on, and so I'm walking around the house doing this. I feel you, buddy, I feel you, and I still do that. My shoulders still bother me. I acknowledge him, and it goes away. That just happens. And you know what? Whether it is, it isn't, doesn't matter. To me it is, and that's all that matters. So when people say, talk about cardinals and hummingbirds and all the things that you, dragonflies with death, and they believe that, support them in that, because they believe that, it's all that matters. And there's some truth to it too. I could go on forever. So my heart is, and she said 3 or 4 things that there's no way this woman would have known about me and this stuff. I'm wrapping up the inspection. She walks around the counter like this. I'm like, well, let me give her a hug. Bye, I love her, And she goes, no, let's pray. Yeah, let's pray, absolutely. Now, I don't know. She's Catholic, but she's not even the best Catholic. Right? She smokes and she curses a lot. Guilty. So she grabs my hands and y'all, she starts praising Jesus, and I am too. Thank you, yes, Jesus, thank you for today, thank you for these, these moments. And I only tell this story because even this experience makes me doubt. I still doubt. She started chanting in tongues. She's not speaking in tongues, she's chanting, she's singing it. And obviously I'm thinking it's fake, right? I'm leaning in like she's making this up. So it's like 2 foreign languages spoken at the same time, backwards, and she's singing it. And every once in a while she goes, Amen. And it is absolutely beautiful. And when she started, thank you, Jesus. The softest, just the right heavy blanket dropped on me and wrapped around me and hugged me. And that feeling inside that blanket, I call it my robe of righteousness. The Bible talks about it. I felt it. In that, I felt God say again, don't worry about Griffin. This is just a taste of who he is all the time. And I didn't want her to stop. I wish she could have done that forever. But she stopped. And I'm looking at her like this. And I looked down at my feet. I didn't think I was on the ground anymore. I thought I was floating. Seriously thought I was floating, levitating, just floating. And I said, she's holding my hands, like holding on to me. I said, do you know that whenever you did? She goes, no. I said, no. When you started doing that, and I felt it. She goes, I know, I felt it too. She let go of my hands. She goes, when can I get the inspection report? I said, no. Never until you figure, we figure this out right here. Why did you never tell me you could do this, or you had this gift? And she goes, I've never needed to. And that's how matter of fact. Since that time, just so you know, this wasn't a fluke thing. She has called or texted me about 5 times at random times. This is over the course of a year and a half. The first time she did it, I'm sitting on my back patio. I just finished meditating with an older fella and another friend's wife. It's 8 o'clock in the morning. And I had just finished saying this. I'm so angry with life right now. It's just like life just took the biggest dump on me. I'm so mad at life. And my phone, the text message, no, my phone rings and it's her. It just finished coming off my lips and it's her. I answer, hey T, what's up? She goes, I don't know, but if he's gonna wake me up at 3 o'clock in the morning, you better get your together. Stop being angry, drop the anger. Okay, God, I got you. Did I drop it? No, it took a little while. I'm not angry anymore. I get angry at other things that manifest in other areas. And I don't blame my son's death on it either. We're broken. I'm spiritually sick, but I was spiritually sick before Griffin. We all are. It's okay. It's okay. God's not judging me today on one thing that I do. Later on, 1 month after Griffin died, John Listy, the director of Charismatic Renewal that I loved, calls me up and said, would you and Michelle be willing to come talk to Griffin's classmates at a 6th grade retreat? I understand the power of being able to do that and the healing that comes from something like that. I saw it clear as day. Michelle, not quite as transparent as me, not quite as used to being vulnerable as me, and so she can't see the benefits, so she's nervous. I talk her into it. I meet John Listy and another guy. Y'all know Bobby Dupuy? He's got cerebral palsy. You see him around? I love Bobby to death. You know why I love Bobby? I met Bobby and we had this little lunch group. In the second lunch, Bobby came up and he was really, really distraught because he's still a man, right? Who has some limitations. And this is a 54-year-old man with limitations. But he still yearns for what men yearn for. And he loves Jesus. And he's got some of the strongest faith I've ever seen. And he has lived with this cross his whole life. And I looked at him at lunch and he was complaining, and he didn't know me that well, I didn't know him, and he was saying something. I said, Bobby, do you think that God loves you? And he stopped what he was saying and he smiled and he said, I know that he thinks I'm the apple of his eye. That man can say that in his circumstances. I keep him around because I love his heart. And I pick him up to Bible study, so he needs me too. So, but I love his heart, right? I love it. So we go and we're gonna meet at Bobby's house before, and as soon as I walk in the door, John goes, Kevin, I want you to give your testimony. I said, yeah, me and Michelle are gonna talk today. He goes, no, I want you to give your testimony. I said, like dope and all? And he goes, well, the 6th grade version, not the UMT version. So I am nervous about this. Now I'm nervous. I've never done. These are Griffin's friends. It's his classmates. Griffin, I didn't hide recovery from my kids. We use this thing called the Big Book, and I had 24 men in my game room every Monday night, and we studied the Big Book for years. And Griffin got to come outside and watch us have a meeting after the meeting and communicate and interact with men. So he was comfortable being around guys, you know? And so I'm nervous. I'm walking out of Bobby's house, and I'll be gone. I get a text message. I look down, and she goes, I don't know why, it's T. I don't know why, but chill, Dad, just chill. When I tell you how many times that child told me that and I wanted to spank his butt because I was normally fussing at him about something, and he'd go, chill, Dad. Let's pick up your drawers off the, like, that's not even important, chill. And she didn't know that. She's done that 3 or 4 times. It's amazing, y'all. Like now she calls, I do, okay, what happened? What you about to tell me? I'm ready for it. But she started having some health problems, and Griffin hasn't been bothering her that much, and I'm glad he's not. She said, he's a persistent little fart, isn't he? I said, oh yeah, he is. Man, I miss my son, y'all. I miss my son so bad. Like the the lonesome, it's not loneliness, although I can certainly feel lonely in that office. You know, my favorite story in the Bible right now is the Transfiguration, where it says suddenly we were all alone with Jesus. And I have to remind myself that he never leaves me, and that's the point. Why should I have to remind myself that he never leaves me? How much more things have to happen in my life for me to just abandon myself to him? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know the answer, and the crosses don't stop. People say, God only gives you what you can handle. I don't believe that right now. I think he's giving me way more than I should be able to handle. But I am. I'm getting up. I'm meeting people like Fred. I'm meeting people like Gary. And I'm seeing their heart. They're seeing mine. And we're forming relationships that are beautiful. I'm having redefined for me what it means to have a friend, what it means to take care of God's kids, what it means to help get them to heaven, right? All new meaning for me. Remember, selfish person. What can I take from you? What can I get from you? Immature, spiritually sick. It's in the valleys that we grow. You know, I know you've heard that. It's in the valleys that we grow. I tell my daughter, if only you could if you could keep from concerning yourself about what's going to happen tomorrow and worry about eternity, you'd make better decisions. She's not capable of it. I wasn't either. I don't fault her for it. That's why we're here. Put her back on track. Do any of you go to Bible studies where you study the Bible? I didn't know anything about it either. And somebody said, you want to come to Bible study? Look, I got invitations after Griffin died. The caliber of people in Acadiana is unbelievable. Never question that you live in one of the most heartfelt places in the world, right here. I had men that lived in armed forces. They lived all over the world. And when they came to my house, one of them came in one time and he said, hey, Kevin, how you doing? He's looking around. He starts crying. I said, what's wrong? He goes, who are all these people? I said, these are all friends. He goes, I lived in Jacksonville. I went to Michigan. I had to go to funerals with both. This doesn't happen other places. You know that, right? I said, well, I'm glad it's happening here, bud. I'm glad you're here, you know. So anyway, I got invited to so much stuff. Just random people inviting me to do things, and I'm like, okay, yeah, in a fog. My calendar after Griffin died was unbelievable. I'm like, what is going on here? Thank God those people called and asked me to do stuff. So I go to these Bible studies, and all we do is you read the gospel for the upcoming Sunday, and then we talk about how it applies to our life. And I'm thinking, that's the Bible study? I thought we'd read out the Bible and then we'd like study it. And they said, well, keep coming back. Eventually we'll get through the whole gospel. And so I did. So I've come to find a couple of things about reading the Bible. You know how many times it says in the Bible that Jesus talks about peace? You know, he says, my peace I leave you, my peace I give you. 105 times. So I'm telling this guy, that's this priest that had just come back from Mexico at the retreat I'm on, and I'm telling him, I wish I had some peace. I need some peace. And he goes, when's the last time you asked him for it? I said, who? He goes, Jesus. Have you asked Jesus for some of that peace? I said, no, I haven't. He wants to give you the peace. Ask him for it. Let me tell you what, me and Jesus, that's speed dial. Jesus, please give me some peace. Jesus, please. And the fact that I'm asking for it, somebody gave me the best advice ever about prayer, and I'll tell you what it is, and then I'll shut up. Get on your knees and talk to God and tell him what you need. Make sure it's not for selfish motives, especially if it can help other people. But if it makes you a better man, tell him what you need. And then get off of your knees and act like he's already given it to you. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. My thoughts turn into my feelings. I act on the feelings, and that can go either good or bad. So I mind my thoughts daily, throughout the day. I mind my thoughts. I don't know if I can control them yet, but I can at least mind them, pay attention to them. I don't entertain the ones that are really wacky. And if they are wacky, and I'm considering it, I have people that I can call and run it by. I don't trust myself all that much yet. You know? I was just thinking, what do you think about that? Man, are you crazy? Don't do that, no. Thank you, man, I was gonna do that. No, don't do that. Still, that happens, you know? So we started a foundation in our son's name. I woke up one morning and I looked and I was getting these emails and these texts and then Facebook thing, and then somebody started a GoFundMe account, and I got so mad because I'm a prideful man. I don't need help burying my son. My poor little wife's cousin Amber was getting called about money and she didn't know what to do with it, so she started a GoFundMe account so we could take that money and do something positive for it in Griffin's name. And the first thing out of my mind is, I don't need any help burying my son. I told y'all, I'm a prideful, selfish man. I had to go back and make amends to that girl 30 minutes later, crying, telling her I'm sorry, I'm not right. I'm not right. I'd have thought the same thing even if I was right. That little account got up to $19,000 and we didn't know what to do with it. We called up 20 of our closest friends and their spouses, and we sat around my pool one day, one evening, and we came up with Griffin Strong Foundation. Griffin had a habit of bringing the most broken kids in the class home. And they had ADD and they were tearing my house up and they were always in my pantry. And I said, son, why can't you bring home some normal kids? They're just chill, they're just cool. And he goes, Dad, those popular kids, they are arrogant, they're bullies, I don't even like them, I don't want to hang out with them. So he brings home the broken kids. And so this foundation advances the educational, recreational, and spiritual opportunities of kids in need. And he likes the recreational part the most because that kid likes to have fun, and that's what we do. We take kids and we show them fun with a God-centered message. We just built a website, finished up with that, and so I'll just say this one other thing, because I gotta plug these two things. I mean, it would be dumb if I didn't. 6 months before he died, Griffin came up to me, I'm in my office, and most of the time when he come in my office, because my office is the converted pool room, but it's also Griffin's garage, where he worked on bikes, scooters, dirt bikes, skateboards, and it is home to Ollie, the sugar glider. You know what a sugar glider is? I didn't know what it was. Griffin wanted it for Christmas. It's an Australian squirrel that flies. Son, you're not getting anything with a motor or fur this year. But I drove to Marrero, Louisiana, to the only USDA certified breeder of sugar gliders 2 days before Christmas. Carried that sucker down back in a pouch because they like to sit close to you. Walked into Louis Vuitton to pick up a purse from my brother-in-law who was buying it for my sister with the sugar glider barking in that pouch. They remembered me when they had to return the purse. And go back and then gave him that sugar glider for Christmas. And so Oliver, Australia, Ollie is in the, so it was the three of us. Well, he'd come in and I would say, son, I'm working. We can talk later. Time. He would say that. I'll blow him off. We'd be in the truck and that kid liked to talk. And I'd go, hey, let's just not talk for about 10 minutes. Let your kids talk, man. I would give anything to have those conversations where he didn't shut up. He'd walk down the driveway and walk 200 yards to the edge of the street where the bus would pick him up, and I craved the days when it was raining so I could drive him to the bus stop and we could have 5-minute conversations. Those conversations were so good. The best 11-year-old conversations you'll ever have. We'd fight in the morning because he wasn't a morning person like his dad, and we'd fight, and no matter what, before he got to the end of the driveway, he'd turn around and go, I love you, Dad, no matter what. I miss Dad so much. He wanted to start a hat company, is what he said. He was an artist. His drawings were fantastic. He first started carving knives. They were shanks. He was carving shanks. And I just told him to keep at it. Bought him a Dremel. Start messing with metal, see what you can do. He starts forming metal and making hatchets, and then he starts messing with wood, and he makes bows and arrows, and he carves his own arrows. He carved a canoe, 10, 11 years old, he carved a canoe for his mom that's so small and detailed, it's so beautiful. And he liked to draw. And he said, I want to start a hat company. And he had 53 hats in his room, still there. we both wear flat bills, right? I know I'm not in the demo, but it's just what I do. Well, we go to Lids and we'd spend an hour in that store trying to find 4 hats that we could wear both light, right? He said, I want to start a hat company. I'm going to draw the logo. I'm going to make the design. You can help me with the hats. Will you back me? And he goes, and I don't want those cheap hats either, like that Red Bull hat I bought off Amazon. I said, I will back you 100%, bro. Go get your drawings. Let's get it started. He never got around to it. We never finished it. We started the hat company, and Ollie Gear was born. And we're in the process now of having patches done so we can make these hats, and be on the lookout. We got a lot of friends that are going to help us do some things. 100% of the proceeds from Ollie Gear, guess what? Fund Griffin Strong to help kids. My wife starts talking about all the money we can make for to put into Griffin Strong, and I go, and I learned this from a missionary. How many kids are we going to help with that? How is that going to take a kid and bring them to Jesus? How does that happen? And with that mindset, people can't fail. It's impossible to fail with that motive. I'm convinced of it. I'll leave y'all with this, of all the things, and there's a lot that goes through my head every day. Man, I wish I could shut it off more often. But of all the things that I've learned through these experiences is that the most important being, no matter what, and in the worst times of my life, when I'm ashamed of my behavior, he's closest to me. I'm convinced of it. And it's not so much in these great big old things that happen to us and these great big old momentous things that we do to help people. It's in the little bitty things that we do every day. Because by doing those little bitty things, they become a working part of my mind. So when the big things happen, it's already a working part of my mind. It's automatic where I turn. And that's the beauty of sorrow. That's the beauty of that cross. The saints prayed for suffering for a reason. I am in no way going to pray for suffering. I want you to know that. God, I'm not doing it. But I can understand why they did. All right, one thing from my main man, and Garrett's here looking at me like, man, why are you still talking? When you get out of here. Hold on 1 second, I gotta figure out where I'll put it. Y'all use the notes thing in your phone? Y'all ever use the little notes? Man, I must have like 3,000 notes in here. I think I need to purge. So, y'all know Lance Strother? Lance? At St. Thomas More? Another man who's just got a good heart, and I've become close with him because I want what he has. He asked some questions about what 3 things we could do to grow each day, and I thought he was talking about material, so that's how I answered. He goes, not material, Kevin. So I thought about it, and I said, number 1, surrender. I know I'm saying that to some men. Surrender, to yield to the power of another. It's a trait of a man who sees things from a broader perspective, a more humble, meek perspective. I've yet to meet a man who had the virtues I wanted most with real joy and also tried to control their world at the same time. Surrender. Number 2, when people ask how's it going, skip the superficial. I'm working a lot. Just trying to keep my head above water. I tell them what's on my heart. You ask me what's going on, I tell you what's on my heart. There are men in Red Rails that will not talk to me anymore because they can't handle it. And that's okay. I'm gonna tell you what's on, because 9 times out of 10, they'll tell you what's on theirs. I've had people I don't even know, 4, 5, 6 of them in a week, say this to me at some point in the conversation. I'm about to tell you something I've never told anybody else. There's power in that. Yes, bro, get it off your chest, please tell me. But nothing I have to go to the cops for. I'm not going to say. Number 3, pause, stop, detach, meditate in silence for 30 minutes every day. Growth doesn't happen with a bullhorn. God's never spoken to me with a billboard, flashing lights, and a bullhorn, one of those spotlights. It's in the whispers that moments of clarity show up. All we gotta do is respond. Thank y'all. Y'all responded just by enrolling your kids in a great school. Give them your time and enjoy their lives. Thank y'all.